But the reality is, in a fully mediated society, we have to learn to get people to interact with us. And that's extraordinarily challenging. So you see these new brands that are building point of view in at their core. Brands like Tom's. And I think it's a really good example because people want to listen to Tom's. You know, the mission is extraordinarily simple and compelling, right? It says companies and consumers ought to care about the world. It says you can look good doing that. And people are attracted to it. Media is efficient, they invite people in, and it's an amazing platform to start a conversation. And there's many examples like Tom's, but they're typically modern companies. It's very difficult for large conglomerates that haven't started that way to evolve, but there is examples. We talk a lot about it, and I think it's much maligned because the truth is that conversational marketing is largely bullshit. Most individuals don't have conversations with brands, and we try to, and it's very, very difficult. But I think one of the key challenges there is without point of view, you're never going to have a conversation. It's like talking to a robot. Imagine being at a party and the kinds of interactions that you love when you have them. It's about opinionated, point of view, thoughtful people. Point of view is extraordinarily important, and I found a great example of it, one of my favorite brands. And the amazing thing that I thought about this brand is that they used point of view as media strategy, which is really interesting. So it's Black Friday, the day that America celebrates consumption. Patagonia takes out a full-page ad in the New York Times that says, "Don't buy this jacket." Perfect media strategy, great audience, and the idea is quite simple. I've cut it off a little bit, but the idea is simple, is that we believe in thoughtful consumption. We believe that our products last a long time, and if it gets a rip in it, sew it up, consume less, consume more smartly, and when you do buy something, buy quality, buy Patagonia. And I think it fits so perfectly with the brand. It's a really, really insightful way to approach point of view marketing. This is another example, which is, let me just get on that. Point of view is more important than topic. And I think that you just have to think about this for a sec, because when you go to that meeting where the CMO or whoever you're working with says, "We need a content strategy," and you're like, you run into the meeting, the first thing that people talk about is, well, what are we going to create content around? What is interesting to the consumer? What do we create content around? I think that's the wrong starting point. The starting point ought to be, what is our point of view? Because when you get point of view right, you can talk about lots of different things. You can talk about the environment, you can talk about design, you can talk about style, you can talk about the right ways to live. But point of view is more important in my mind than topic. And I have a bit of a ridiculous example because this isn't always about high-minded ideas. Point of view isn't always about a philanthropy. GoDaddy believes in something. I'm not quite sure what it is, but they do believe in something. And it's an excellent example of point of view, working for a lot of people, point of view creating a tremendous amount of media efficiency, and point of view, and the content being completely unrelated to the service. So it also illustrates, I think, a very important additional rule about point of view, which is point of view means you might piss people off, and I think you ought to. We have a little rule that I got from a friend of mine in managing our editorial operations, and it's we should always be pissing off our audience 20% of the time, or pissing off 20% of the audience at all times, because that's how you create dialogue, and that's creating emotional connection to what we're doing. But certainly, point of view means, it's personal, and it means people might disagree, and I think that's really hard for big organizations and the agency infrastructure that exists around them.